What's happening? Brian Tong here, and welcome to the Apple Byte for everything good and bad inside the world of Apple. Let's get to it, and Apple still hasn't released a new product in 2014, which points to a bonkers second half of the year. But while we wait, new code appearing in iOS 7.1 points to Apple working on Siri voice input on the next Apple TV. Now, if you look at this image from 9 to 5 Mac, Assistant is Apple's internal name for Siri, and the number 3 represents the Apple TV family, where 1 and 2 are for the iPhone, iPod Touch, and iPad families. Now, this new info suggests voice input and feedback will most likely be included in the next Apple TV model, but it also looks like Siri may not be coming to the current gen Apple TVs. Also, Amazon's Fire TV has voice search that works pretty nicely, and Apple would potentially be the second streaming box with this functionality, but I'm pretty sure Gary Busey isn't at the top of their list for celebrity reps.
If you're like me, you like talking to things.
That's just disturbing. And a quick Apple TV update, more content has been added with the addition of A&E, the History Channel, and Lifetime. You'll still need to be a cable subscriber, but you'll be able to catch up on episodes you've missed from shows like Dance Moms, or let's see, there's Wife Swap, or Devious Maids, or Mission Makeover, but I've never actually watched any of those great shows. All right, the iWatch is another toy plenty of you are waiting to see. I may not want it right now, but I'm really curious. The Big A has registered trademarks on the iWatch name in several countries, but now Mac Rumors has found that the fruit company has been bolstering its trademark on the actual name Apple to also cover jewelry and watches. Trademarks are broken into 45 different classes. Watches and jewelry are part of Class 14 that covers precious metals and stones, and in general covers jewelry, clocks, and watches. Now, Apple wants to bring that bling, but Gamago's iBling stand is not one of those products. In fact, I actually searched for iBling just to see if anything exists, and yeah, it does. That thing is so ugly, and it's just begging for a bad Apple. And if you own one of those, I'm blocking you from the show. All right, Apple announced their earnings this week for the first calendar quarter and the second fiscal quarter of 2014. The Big A beat estimates, posting revenue of $45.6 billion and a net quarterly profit of $10.2 billion, besting the $43.6 billion in revenue and net quarterly profit of $9.5 billion from the same quarter last year. Now, iPhone sales were up 43.7 million units compared to 37.4 a year ago, but iPads were down 16.35 million compared to 19.5 in the previous year. So maybe now Carl Icahn can stop his whining in public, and, you know, it looks like he will after this tweet. But bottom line, everyone gets paid. All right, in the latest iPhone 6 rumors and news, Taiwan's Industrial and Commercial Times reports that Apple's 5.5-inch iPhone 6 has been delayed and will launch in 2015. Now, previous rumors have pointed to potentially 2 new iPhone 6 screen sizes, 4.7 and the 5-inch Plus size. The report says Apple is struggling to find a sufficient battery that measures 2 millimeters or less to fit in the device's super thin profile. Now, the report also says parts suppliers are referring to it as the iPhone Air, but that's not the official name yet. And a past Reuters report also claimed the larger 5.5-inch next-gen phone was having production issues with its display that was also causing delays at the time. And did you guys notice how many concept images we use to cover a story about a product that hasn't been announced, has no release date, doesn't exist yet, but feels very real? And check out these latest renderings from Martin Hajek based on the latest schematics and iPhone 6 case leaks. Let's keep it real. This thing is going to have a bigger screen, faster A8 processor, Touch ID, and a better camera. The lines for this thing are going to be 10 times longer than the lines for the Nike Air Yeezy Phone Posits. And I know one of you is doing a Google search right now. All right, I've said it plenty of times on the show, but the next big transformative change for the smartphone in my mind, at least here in the US, is making it a true digital wallet that works everywhere, and Touch ID is the first piece to get us there. Now, it's still early in the process, but according to Recode, Apple is interviewing senior payments industry executives to take on roles with the company to push ahead with their plan to build an electronics payments business. Now, using the over 600 million iTunes accounts as the foundation, Apple is looking at ways to make it easier for people to buy products in apps and on the web using their iPhones, and they're also working on making purchases in physical retail stores with iPhones as well. Tim Cook has publicly said mobile payments was one of the thoughts behind Touch ID, But you know what? It's still a long ways before we see anything like this as a real service. We're probably at least 1 or 2 years away, and I'll remind you again, the tech has been around in Japan over about 10 years now. 10! They had this tech on their flip phones. Now, let's get to the quick bites. Apple recently released an update for OS 7.1.1 that brings more improvements to Touch ID, keyboard bug fixes, and security updates. And this one is a good one. If you're curious about what Apple is cooking with OS 10, they are now letting anyone with an Apple ID to test out OS 10 beta builds. Previously, you had to be part of their paid developer program, but not anymore. So the latest OS 10 10.9.3 build was released recently, and you can sign up here for their beta seed program. All right, that's going to do it for this week's show. Send me your emails to theapplebyte@cnet.com or tweet me at Brian Tong. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next week for another Bite of the Apple.